It's time for the Billy Flint Experience.
Thank you so much for joining me once again to the Billy Flint Experience. I am Billy Flint. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. And as always, we have some very, very interesting current events. I don't know whether or not this particular podcast would be controversial. But I don't know. I don't really care. Because right at this moment, as we do each and every time we are here, I always say, if you got 'em, light 'em up. Because I am an advocate of the cannabis. Medicinal. It frees your mind. Once again, thank you so much for joining me here. And we're going to get into the fuckery. I am kind of speechless. Being that just the other day we did a show about R. Kelly. You know, R. Kelly.
Robert. 30 years of my career!
His trial had started. And that has been long overdue. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to get into something else a little different, but kind of like on the same scale. And what really have me asking questions is that there seemingly, I don't know whether it's a trend or it just seems as though that since this pandemic, people have just been losing their minds. I mean, just really, excuse me. A lot of people have been losing their minds. There's been things going on inside the entertainment industry where people are being accused of misconduct, whether it's with women, men, children. Has been really, really rampant over the past couple of years. But since the pandemic, it's really been like outrageous. And like I said, again, it seems like people are losing their minds. But anyways, we are talking about tonight about the newest case, the newest charge. And for those that don't know this individual, he goes by the name of Brother Polight. 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 Just in case there are some people that never heard of him that is listening, but it goes by the name of Polight. And he is a part of what is known as, in the YouTube stratosphere, as he's a part of the conscious community. I don't know what it was. My throat is dry. I don't know, maybe it's because of the cannabis. 1 second. That was good. Yes, it's part of the conscious community of YouTube land. But he has been around for quite some time. I don't know, maybe the last 20 years, but not on YouTube, but more or less within the New York area before he moved out to LA. He's been known within that community as being very what is the word? Kind of enriched in the culture and enriched in the black culture and Egyptology and deeper knowledge along those lines in the conscious community. But what I find most interesting is not what he's been charged with, but the fact that it seems like all of his kind run in the same circles. And what I mean by that, another individual part of Brother Polight is not really a part of the hip hop culture, but another individual has been kind of talked about within the YouTube stratosphere among other content creators, but he has been exposed to misconduct earlier in his career, and that's Africa Bambaataa of the Zulu Nation. And as again, like I said, he has been exposed through other content creators on YouTube, and it was very enlightening to follow these content creators and listen to what, or watch and listen to what has been provided with these individuals, that it's seemingly in the black community that black people tend to put their trust and follow these individuals based on what information they're providing. But what I find interesting, as I said, is that it seems as though they all run in the same circles, and it's just now slowly coming into focus. And it's already been well known within the black community that our children are not safe. And this goes back from generation to generation, that our kids are not safe. And it's bad enough that it's happening within the home or within the neighborhood amongst other black people. And that's what really stuck out with this story of Brother Polight. Not only because of the fact that he's part of the conscious community and you have a lot of people standing behind him, taking his side in these allegations. But one thing that I find compelling, and the same thing with Africa Bambaataa, is the information and the knowledge that they followed or that they garnered around was called they went by different names, but the guru of this cult was known as the Nuwaubian Nation. And I think it's Alsar or Set Society they went by at one time. And then they called themselves the Moors. And it kept flipping. And the reason I bring this up is because I myself was actually a part of the Nuwaubian Nation. And it goes back many, many years ago when I was fresh out of college, very, very dumb, and not knowing anything about life and reality. What they were saying in the Nuwaubian Nation, it was really all Afrocentric, the information, the books that Dr. Malachi York, the books that he had published were geared on, I can't think of the word, metaphysics, higher learning, again, a lot of Egyptology themed information. A lot of the stuff was twisted, really, really twisted. But as a young man, I didn't know any better because I myself was searching. Like I said, I was fresh out of college, and I was into Afrocentrism. I was into learning more about the black culture. And this is when I was in Atlanta, Georgia. So I was a part of the Nuwaubian Nation. They were right in Atlanta, downtown. They had a storefront temple, a storefront temple, and I used to go there to those meetings, and I became a part. And it didn't last that long. I think I was there for maybe 3 months. And the things that I've seen, I remember seeing a lot of different young girls that they used to bring, because what the guys would do, they were responsible for a certain amount of money that they had to bring into the temple. So they would be downtown in Atlanta. 5 Points is what they call it in Atlanta. It's the South Side. It's 5 Points. And looking back then, I remember seeing them selling the booklets or selling, different trinkets or whatever. But they had a quota that they had to meet every day to bring back a certain amount of money back to the temple. And I was fascinated with the information that they were providing in these booklets. Plus, the artwork was really good. And I graduated from an art college, so I was attracted to that aspect of what they were providing with the information. So, like I said, it didn't last that long, because as I started going, I would go like every other day to the temple, right after work or whatever. I would drive down to the temple. And I remember seeing, like, they were bringing girls, and they would live there because it was, like I said, the temple was on the first floor, and then they had like maybe 2 floors above, and I think that was their living quarters. So what they would do is they would bring in these recruits or other guys or other girls, and they would stay there at this temple. And I remember seeing that some would be coming in with their suitcases, and some would be leaving out. And I used to think that was the strangest thing. And that's when I started asking questions like, well, what is this place? Really, what is this place? And I don't know, for some reason, I just stopped going. I just became really uninterested, because it just seemed like some of the things they were talking about was kind of contradictory to what I was seeing as far as their behavior. So I just left the whole temple. But I find it interesting that this kind of like these 6 degrees of separation thing is going on. That Africa Bambaataa and Brother Polight were students of Dr. Malachi York. And of course, Dr. Malachi York was actually persecuted of misconduct. He was guilty of child molestation. And like this happened, back in, I don't know, the late 90s or the early 2000s or whatever. But when I heard about that, when I first heard about the news, it just made me get flashbacks. I had flashbacks thinking back like, wow, I used to be into this guy. And for some reason, something told me to get the fuck away from him. And I did. And years later on, he's convicted of child molestation in his temple, because they had a very, very, very big church or cult in Putnam County, Georgia, which is outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And I found that very, very interesting, very, very strange. And like to think 20, 25 years later, after Dr. Malachi York is convicted of misconduct, then you have a few of his students, or who knows, maybe more. They just haven't been caught. But the ones that are out there that are well known are being brought up on pretty much the same charges. And I find it very, very saddening that this is going on in the black community. Very, very sad. And as far as Brother Polight is concerning, is allegedly, a lot of the other content creators are saying allegedly, and I'll say allegedly, but one thing that has been brought to the forefront of the news is that they found semen on the clothes of the 14-year-old girl that he was allegedly with. And once they did the DNA test comes up positive that it is Brother Polight's semen that was found on the girl's clothes. So, for all pretense and purposes, it doesn't look good.
Robert. 30 years of my career!
It just does not look good for Brother Polight. But who knows? Maybe the truth will come out and he's actually innocent. And maybe he was framed. It's a possibility. But I don't know. I guess we have to wait and see. So, that's just my thought on it. Thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to being back with you again. Take care. Have a wonderful, wonderful start of the next week.